May school board meeting. We appreciate all of you coming out and all of you that may have joined us by way of some social media platform. So at this time, I'll call the meeting to order, and please note that all school board members and the superintendent are present. And as we begin, would you join me for a moment of silence, please? Thank you very much. If you would, and are able to, please stand as we say the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. And item C is to adopt the agenda, and I believe we've done an addition, Mr. Stoll.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you to amend the agenda for an item to go into the consent agenda. It's a field trip request for the FFA leadership training this summer. It's 6/13 through 6/17 in Hardinsburg, Kentucky. They've submitted it, and if we don't do it now, we can't get it done before the June board meeting. So I'd like to ask that you amend the agenda simply to add that to the consent agenda tonight.
Okay, can I have a motion to amend the agenda?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to show the item that Mr. Stoll added.
Thank
I
you.
won't go through the whole item if it's okay with you.
Thank you. That's okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Heard seconded. Mr. McQuarrie made the motion. All in favor, let me know by lifting your hand. All board members were in favor. The agenda is adopted. Which brings us to Roman numeral 2, communications, and item A is recognitions. We're always excited to be able to do this, Mr. Stoll.
So we're happy to do it too, if you'd like to work around to the
Yes,
front.
sir.
Our first one tonight is the Danville Office Equipment Support Staff of the Month. It's Miss Debbie Rodas. Mrs. Rodas is the keystone to our amazing office squad. She's the first one to arrive each morning, and her kindness and positive energy is simply contagious. She greets staff, students, and parents with warmth every time she sees them in the office or talks to them on the phone. Even when having to remind teachers to post attendance or reminding parents about attendance procedures, Ms. Rodas is the courtesy in courtesy call. When things get too serious, you can count on Mrs. Rodas to help lighten the mood. We're simply blessed to have her at LES. Congratulations.
Thank
Our next one is the Whole Latte Love Teacher of the Month, Miss Emily Lawson, who is our gifted and talented education teacher. Mrs. Lawson's an amazingly talented, gifted education teacher. She goes out of her way to get to know her students' strengths and interests and to provide opportunities and experiences to support their growth in these areas. She works extremely hard to do things with her students that would not be possible without the GT program. Her students have learned to sew on sewing machines, code on the computer, produce items in 3D printers, design circuits on circuit boards, and use clues to solve difficult mysteries and challenges. She's determined to identify every student she possibly can who might benefit from the GT program. This year, with the help of her district committee, she identified students in dance, music, drama, visual arts, leadership, and the primary talent pool. We've been very blessed to have Mrs. Lawson support our gifted and talented students and their teachers for the past 4 years. She's just awesome. Congratulations. Now the Farmers National Bank Students of the Month. Our first student from Camp Dick Robinson is Caden Cobb. Caden is a third grade student at CDR. He works extremely hard and puts forth his very best effort. He always has a smile on his face and a positive attitude. He's very caring and helpful to his classmates and teachers, and we're proud that Caden is a CDR Bobcat. Congratulations, Kate. Next, from Lancaster Elementary, is Summer Gomez. Summer's a second grade student at LES. She is so kind to others. Each day she greets the adults by saying good morning, and she always stops to say good morning and wave to our student helpers. She has a great work ethic in class and is always helpful to other students. Congratulations, Summer. Next, from Paint Lick Elementary, is Callie Coffey. Callie is a first grade student at Paint Lick and is an absolute joy to have in class. She always works hard and does what's right. She has the sweetest heart and is a friend to everyone. She's always the first to offer up a hug and a smile, and she always helps all her classmates with anything they need. Congratulations, Callie. From Garrard Middle School, Sophia Musiaki. We'll hold on to that and get that to her. From Garrard County High School, Caitlin Johnson. Caitlin is a senior at GCHS, and they're so proud of Caitlin's growth as a GCHS student. She's worked very hard to achieve the goal of becoming a nurse. Caitlin has taken multiple dual credit courses and has passed the necessary certification tests, and she's also signing with the Armed Forces. Caitlin is a model for all our students to follow. With dedication, determination, and discipline, your dreams can become a reality. Congratulations, Caitlin.
Come on.
I'm all right.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to recognize the Garrard Middle School academic team. So if they'll come forward at this point, that might be a good number. You guys figured it out. Come on up. First thing you need to know about the Garrard Middle School academic team is that they had over 60 members this year, which is pretty impressive. They were the district champions overall and saw 17 out of 18 testers qualify for regional competition. The team won every district championship except one. The problem-solving and quick recall teams were also district champions. The GMS team was also overall regional runners-up and had the regional champion in arts, science, and English language arts. 6 individuals and the problem-solving team advanced to state. The 6th grade team also placed as runner-up, and Emery Martin placed 6th overall in the state on the 6th grade test. Congratulations to the GMS academic team. Next from Garrard Middle School are the Rogers Scholars Explorers. If they will come forward. The Rogers Explorers is open to middle school students who have strong interest in developing their skills in leadership, team building, community service, and STEM. Current eighth graders are eligible to apply. Rogers Explorers is a 3-day, 2-night program on a leading Kentucky college campus where experts will guide them through hands-on assignments. And the program is presented by the Center for Rural Development in partnership with Lindsey Wilson College, Eastern Kentucky University, Morehead State University, Asbury University, and Union College. Abigail Bailey has demonstrated an extreme level of dedication to her grades and sports teams. She's been in advanced math classes for both 7th and 8th grade. Abigail even offers help to her classmates that struggle with assignments. During her time at GMS, she's participated in softball, archery, and golf. She's also on the GMS Student Council, Teens Against Tobacco, and the GMS School News. Some of the community service projects that she's participated in are helping to clean up the school, singing Christmas carols at the nursing home, and food drives at her church. Congratulations, Abby. Natalie has maintained an excellent academic record while attending Garrard Middle School for the last 3 years. She's also been very active in school-related events through participation in student council while being a very integral part of the program, one who is always willing to step up to any challenge and help the student body succeed. She also assists others in class who need academic assistance, all while maintaining an outstanding attitude with both her peers and staff. So congratulations to Natalie. Abigail Travis is always willing to help in and out of the classroom. She always represents GMS pride in school and in the community. Abigail does a wonderful job of uplifting those around her with an encouraging smile or uplifting words. She's patient with people in her groups and tries to implement everyone's ideas. Her teachers automatically know that she will always be giving her best. Whatever career she chooses someday will be one in which she excels and is at the top of her class or the workplace. Congratulations, Abby. Cooper's not here. We'll share Cooper. Cooper's a confident young man that exemplifies many leadership qualities. He strives for excellence with the things he's most passionate about and wants to excel in those areas. He's always willing to participate in class and makes the learning environment fun for his peers. He prides himself in his efforts and makes sure to communicate any questions he has. So we congratulate him even though he's not here. Next, we'd like to recognize Viviana Weaver, who has been selected to participate in the Gatton Academy. The Carol Martin Gatton Academy of Mathematics and Science in Kentucky is a residential program for bright, highly motivated Kentucky high school students who've demonstrated interest in pursuing advanced careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Housed on the campus of Western Kentucky University, students take college classes, engage in faculty-led research, and have the ability to study abroad. The Gatton Academy also seeks to provide students with the companionship of peers, to encourage students to develop the creativity, curiosity, reasoning ability, and self-discipline that lead to independent thought and action, and to aid students in developing integrity that will enable them to benefit society. The goal is to enable Kentucky's exceptional young scientists and mathematicians to learn in an environment which offers advanced educational opportunities, preparing them for leadership roles in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Congratulations to Viviana for being selected. Next is recognition of Miles Terry for being selected to attend the Craft Academy. The Craft Academy for Excellence in Science and Mathematics is a dual credit academy for academically exceptional Kentucky students. The Craft Academy provides students with a post-secondary residential experience to complete their junior and senior years of high school by enrolling in college courses. The Craft Academy's purpose is to meet the unique educational needs of academically gifted and talented high school juniors and seniors in the Commonwealth. The academic rigor of the Craft Academy challenges students to excel at their highest level and through project-based STEM courses and hands-on learning experiences with an emphasis on innovation, design, and creativity in civil and regional engagement. Congratulations, Miles. Next Next is the recognition of the GCHS Rogers Scholar, Alexis Lewis.
Alexis.
All right, and is Sydney Putnam here? Okay, then that will wrap that up.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that, and all these students, you make us proud. Well, item B is for a few board members, site-based decision-making council minutes, and I hope that you had an opportunity to go over each of these that have been previously shared with us. Which brings us to item C, audience comments, and our first speaker is Brianna Smith. And Brianna, where are you?
Do I just stand here?
Yeah, if you want to. That's
Okay.
fine.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Smith. I'm a parent of an incoming Garrard County kindergartner who just completed his preschool year here. I wanted to speak with you today regarding the decision of the school district to depart from the traditional promotion ceremony. In more direct terms, the decision to revoke parents' invitations to celebrate the educational successes of their children. Before I begin, I just want to say how grateful I am to each of you for your service. And I know your time is precious. You're freely giving it to help our community and school districts succeed. I have no doubts that each of you have the same goal that we parents have for our children. We want to see them succeed. And as our district vision statement says, we expect the best. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today, to share a parent perspective on this new change in our school. As we all know, parents are the first teachers in their children's lives. We are the catalyst for their education and careers. However, that responsibility does not stop once the child begins preschool or kindergarten. Their learning continues to extend from the classrooms into our homes and our daily lives. We offer to help them with their homework. We find opportunities in ordinary daily tasks to apply their learning. And most importantly, we instill the value of education in them. But to do this, our support and presence is a key tool. One that will be lost if parents are no longer allowed to show up for their children's educational accomplishments. I know the importance of parent involvement is already known to each of you and the rest of the school community. This is apparent based on what is written in Garrard County Schools' strategic plan. We have belief statements that say things such as every stakeholder is responsible for continuous improvement in student learning. Every stakeholder. And schools will generate the active involvement of parents, teachers, students, and the community in order to be successful. We have a very specific strategic goal in our plan that aims to actively engage parents and the community to achieve its goals. We also have objectives that include the development of a comprehensive communication plan, a concerted effort to increase parent and community involvement, and the development of a plan to monitor customer satisfaction of all of our stakeholder groups. These belief statements and goals are posted publicly on our website. However, I'm not sure the most recent actions in our district is reflective of them. When the decision was made to depart from the traditional promotion ceremony, not all members of the community were informed of the changes. In my son's elementary school, letters were sent home to fifth grade parents only. It stated that parents could only attend the fifth grade promotion ceremony virtually, and that it would be this way in future school years. If this change is meant to be a permanent change, then it affects more than just fifth grade students. All parents should have been informed. Furthermore, all parents should have been included and actively involved in the discussion, as it directly impacts them. There should have been comprehensive communication and a concerted effort to include parents in these decisions, as our strategic plan objectives state. As parents, we naturally speak to each other about our children and what is taking place in the classroom. It did not take long for word to spread about the new virtual promotion ceremony. Concerned parents immediately began reaching out to administration, as well as each of you board members. Some parents, like myself, asked questions to try to gain more insight. The 5th grade letter I mentioned vaguely states that the decision was motivated by current school safety regulations and guidelines. Other parents simply tried to express their opinions and wanted to be heard. Unfortunately, many emails went unanswered, including one of my own. And then some emails that did receive a response still continued to get either more vague reasoning, such as the passing of 19 RS SB1, or claims of not having control over the decision. Now, parents are feeling like their opinions do not matter. Their voices are not being heard. And unlike the objective in the Garrard County School Strategic Plan, customer satisfaction is not a focus. So I come here today as a final attempt to be heard. Parents need to be present for their students. Their role in students' achievements is just as crucial as every other stakeholder, if not more. They should have the opportunity to celebrate in person with their children. We are, after all, our students' biggest supporters and fans. You wouldn't host a sporting event and refuse to let the fans fill up the stands. Our students should be able to look up in the crowd and see the pride in their parents' faces as they complete each new phase of their education journey. This should not take place only at their high school graduation 13 years later as the culminating ceremony that celebrates all of their years of study, like the initial letter said. Students should be celebrated after completing their very first year of school as a kindergartner, after completing their elementary careers in 5th grade, after completing their middle school career in 8th grade. Each of these short-term goals help students maintain focus, generate momentum, boost self-confidence, and gain feedback. They are the building blocks needed for getting students to the completion of that long-term goal. Not to mention, they are each a rite of passage for our kids. I wanted to end this speech by offering possible alternate solutions. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do so because I truthfully do not know what motivated the decision in the first place. It is impossible to develop solutions to an unknown problem, and communication to parents, unfortunately, from my opinion, has been scarce. So instead, I want to end by pleading with you to develop a plan that's going to allow for in-person attendance at this year's promotion ceremonies and any future ceremonies. Furthermore, ensure parents and other stakeholders have the option to be part of the discussion. We do have a petition that currently has 341 signatures. Unfortunately, a grandmother, Sharon Ballard, who is the one that posted the petition, was not able to be here tonight. I have a print up of what we do have, but I will present that petition to you whenever I'm able to get it from her. So I just want to end by saying thank you so much for your service and your time, and thank you for giving me a voice here today.
Thank you, Brianna. Very eloquent. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Dan Level.
I don't think Mr. Level's here.
Mr. Level's not here. Cruz Ammon.
No.
Mr. Ammon's not here. Natalie King. Natalie's not here. Brooklyn Moore. Abigail Keith.
That one I can speak to from this standpoint. She would have been here tonight, however, she has COVID. She's provided something in video format. We're not showing it here because that's not the way we're structured. But we will share that independently with you all so that you can see that. If we were to present that, that would mean anybody could follow that protocol, and that's not what's in place. But she regrets not being here tonight.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Brianna. And item D, the board members. Any board members have any remarks?
I'd like to say publicly I tried to speak with all our retirees with the reception, but I know you all know I love to talk, but last year I did take the advantage of speaking from this position about the teachers, and not every teacher or person that has retired, classified or certified, I have had the opportunity to work with, but most of them I have. And there are 3 that I had the opportunity to watch them begin their careers, and one was actually a student at Paint Lick. So I know it sounds like I'm aging, but she was 8th grade. We had 8th grade at that time. She was an 8th grade student. I got to watch her go through college, come and ask for a job at a time when the market was saturated, and there were no openings, and how she persisted in state of education, and now she's retiring all of her work in Garrett County. And what a blessing. That's Jennifer DeBoer. Laura Perry and Stephanie Hewlett did their student teaching with us, and I've watched them with their careers, and Laura was here and left and came back. But the many hours we spent in curriculum with many of them, we just appreciate the love that they've had for our county, and they've stayed with us, and I wish them the best. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you to each of the retirees. And what really prompted this last year, and I'll just say, when Tammy Fang retired, I did not say, I had the privilege of hiring her as well, and how she was the first person in Garrett County to actually top out at 100 on the assessment. And so she doesn't have the opportunity, her family doesn't have the opportunity to hear me say that publicly from last year, so I'm saying it publicly this year, even though she can't hear. Just the pride I have in the people that I've had the opportunity to work with, and to each of the people who have served our county and our students.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Davis. Anybody else? All right, item E is superintendent updates.
So I just wanted to share what all of you are aware of, but I want to make sure that everybody continues to hear it, that this past Monday, we were able to announce a partnership with BCTC and UK Health that is going to provide an opportunity for our students that we've never been able to consider providing before. There's some great health science work that already goes on in the district, and we had the opportunity to capitalize on that, an opportunity for kids to have a pipeline directly to being an employee at UK Medical and arriving there with no cost, no debt for families. It's pretty impressive. Right now, we're the only school in the state that has anything like that. And I want to be clear about that. The only school in the state that has it. Dr. Lamb has played a critical role in making that happen. And she called me yesterday to ask if we were getting phone calls about this. And we were. And she said they had received a phone call at BCTC. And the question that was asked was, why Garrett? And she gave them the response. When she told me that, my response was, why not? Why not us, right? And our kids deserve every opportunity that's out there. We want to get every opportunity for them. So this is an update built around that idea. Just the fact that we have something that nobody else has. Now, they will come in line, and there will be others who get this opportunity. I don't mean to suggest that, but that's Garrett County at the front of something, and we should be very proud of that, of what's happened with that. Thank you again to Dr. Lamb for the work that she has put in to make that happen. Had she not served dual roles here, I don't know that this happens, but she was very adamant about making sure that the kids in Garrett County had that opportunity. She's going to meet with Mr. Anderson after tonight's meeting and going to share even more exciting news. Is it okay if I talk about that? UK Medical has now said they hate the fact that they can't do something for our seniors, so they're going to provide 12 full ride scholarships to students who are seniors this year through the BCTC program that will take them to UK as well. So it's not starting next year, it's starting this year. So that's impressive. And so we're excited about that. So again, thank you. Thank you all for letting us do this, and we look forward to sharing more about that as time goes on.
Instruction updates.
We'll share Brad Beatty with you.
With me here for just a moment. David, I'm gonna block your beautiful face from the camera. All right, so we're here tonight. Let's discuss design development approvals from the board. It's one of the preliminary steps we have to take as we go through this process. We last met with you in discussion for similar to this with our initial design process. Tonight I bring for you some exterior renderings. You've had a chance, I hope, to look through in your board packet the included drawing set. That's what we'll be submitting up to KDE as part of the process that we have with them. It's what lets us start to coordinate with consultants and start wrapping this into a package that we can then take to bid. So we'll start tonight. I'll kind of walk you through the two main areas of work that we're looking at for the high school. First being the athletic complex itself. You've seen similar buildings in shape and form. Upper portion of the drawing, you'll see upper left-hand side, that's the existing athletic field house building. And what we've talked about all along is going in and doing some minor modifications to that building. Currently, it has a very large locker room in the upper portion of the image. We're going to make that smaller, make it the same size as the what was the girls' locker room, so that we'll have two common size locker rooms, and that lets us increase the overall space for the weight program. So weightlifting, either at the high school or for the athletics departments. If you look farther down, we've got the two new buildings that are going in. Not a lot has changed in them. They've moved and shifted to try to meet the needs of all the participating sports. As we continue to meet with them throughout this process, we're trying to take their considerations in, trying to provide them the resources they believe they need to continue to perform at the level they've been performing and to continue to exceed. And then you've got your bleacher system. It hasn't changed. It's 2,000 seats on the home side. We're proposing about 500 seats on the visitor side, and that is a determining factor on what the site development over there is letting us do. So it could range anywhere from 400 to 500. Over there, upper right-hand corner is something you didn't see during schematic design. The question was asked. We finally are introducing you into the baseball, softball complex. They're going to be identical from the standpoint of dugouts, team storage, team locker room from the home side, concessions, and grandstands. We're looking at seating 250, which is the minimal requirement teams are required to have to be able to host your regionals. So we'll provide 250 permanent grandstands. And then it's set up in such a way that with the tennis court, who has more mobile bleacher systems, that those could be moved, either baseball or softball when regionals occur, to be able to seat additional folks. That way we don't have grandstands piled up on the backside of the farm waiting to be used once every couple of years. They're being used constantly. We just have to relocate them within the project. But that was the best way to address the seating. We're not overbuilding for attendance. The same area, the same flat area where those future grandstands could go, was temporary, is a flat paved area that, for me, I find more comfortable to pull out my bag chair and enjoy the game that way than I do on an aluminum grandstand board without a bag. So that same area can be used by any of the games. It's just we have to meet city requirements for you to host regionals. At the bottom, you're seeing the proposed. This is a rendering of how that building will set in its relationship to the existing facility. So that small corner piece, right-hand side, is the existing athletic building. The large kind of signature piece, the box, as we'll call it there with the logo on it, that is your kind of multi-purpose. It could be your weight room. It could be a training room. It could be a lot of different opportunities for the students to be able to go out, hopefully from the high school, come down, and I think the initial thought is it's where they'll teach weightlifting as a subject at the high school level. That can happen out here, and it has a relationship to the existing or the other weight room, so we get facilities that can be shared and interacted with without duplicating services per se. Any questions on the outdoor athletics? As far as buildings go, you're not seeing fields or anything that really hasn't changed thus far. You know, the fields are as they've been designed up to this point. Going inside, you're seeing your zip down to the bottom, if you don't mind, Mr. Stool. Your first kind of appearance of what that exterior, this is looking from the athletics to the back of the high school, but this will serve as the primary entrance. If you're parking in the large lot and walking up to the high school, this is your entrance into the school, so it's kind of backwards. We're not addressing the road as such as your primary entrance. Coming in Industry Road, we're addressing the site and the complex to create a whole complex. So this will become the new kind of face entrance of the gymnasium. What you're seeing there is a mixture of matching brick and stone that is on the existing building. We're introducing some metal panel wall systems to kind of give a texture and a change to the overall building. We're introducing some transparent or translucent glass, similar to what exists at the top of the current gymnasium, except for a newer updated product that's shooting yellow, as that has, and it will be two-story in a sense, so that the indoor weight room training activity center on that first level for the high school and the entire second floor, the running track, the areas up there for baseball, softball, archery, golf to practice, where we've got the drop down nets, all that will have that northern light exposure, as well as along the east and the west side. The grand hall, much of the floor plan still exists. As you've seen it in the past, we're starting to really refine what some of that is, how those spaces will lay out. And as we progress through the next levels of this, we'll continue to have meetings with your staff. We'll start showing you some interior renderings of what those spaces will look like as we get inside the building. We're still planning with the large multi-purpose training center at the top, and as we've explained before, that is a 2,200 square foot classroom, single-use classroom, that will have retractable seating in it, so it can seat up to 90 students if we need to hold a lecture series, or you need to bring in a remote teacher or one teacher to teach in a collegiate level style. It's something where you could hold evening classes or multiple different functions, but they'll be able to retract against the wall, much like our bleacher systems do. And then you have about 2,400 square feet of wood floor surface for gymnastics or dance or any of your other sports, athletics, or clubs to utilize for practices and other activities. It can be whatever you needed it to be, as it exists as the large space. But in the future, Garrard County decided we need additional classrooms. This could easily be subdivided into multiple classrooms as well. So we've left you the functionality that as this grows, as the building continues to age and the needs change, it's set up in such a way that you can always redevelop this space without, excessive additional cost. Last section of the pages that I'm showing tonight, that's the second level. As we've talked about before, 2-lane track, running track. You can see upper side of the page, it's those drop down nets we've been talking about. That's equipped for baseball, softball, track, or archery, golf, all ability to be able to practice inside. One of the things Mr. Stoll and I were talking about before about some activity, the goal here is to provide the resources, the areas for these teams to be able to practice so that they can get home at a decent hour and continue to work on their homework, spend time with their family, get rested and ready to come back the next day. We're not keeping kids out till 9, 10 o'clock at night because there's not enough spaces to be able to train and do. The retractable seating up there as well will be very similar. All in all, I ran the numbers as I'm sitting here. You will see on those plans and by code, and By code, we have to allow what's called an 18-inch seat. So when I do the calculations, the numbers you've seen, we're seating 2,612 by code. An 18-inch seat works great for me, but some of the kids and the parents and the folks that came before us aren't nearly as thick as I am, let's put it to be polite. So, and that gets us up to that magic 3,000 number that y'all had asked us. Y'all had asked us for anywhere between 3,000 and 3,500 in the beginning. So by code, by the way the seating is designed, we're at a 2,600 number. It'll comfortably seat 3,000 in seats. And then we've got the floor. So that puts your students on the floor for graduation. That gets us to that 3,500 number. The balconies around the sides will comfortably be able to seat 3,500 in this gymnasium and exceed 3,500 should you need to. And it's equipped to do that, but the seating aspect of it, for code standards, we keep it at a 2,600 number. So it's just, they have to create a defining number, and 18 is what they do it at, even though not everybody needs 18 inches. So again, any questions about the interior spaces of this far? So, okay. Any questions overall for us about the construction and how we're proceeding along on this? We've got some further discussions down the list. But as far as the buildings go themselves, we're progressing along nicely. Again, we're going to continue to meet with your staff. Just, talking with Chris here earlier about the technology aspects of things. We've got a lot of meetings to go through and a lot of discussion to have so that we meet the needs of your staff today, but we also prepare a space that's good for several years in the future. So, all right. Thank you all again.
Thank you, sir.
So I'd just like to share with you first, and for anybody in the public to know that, again, all of the attachments that you all see are available to the public. So anybody who didn't think they got a good enough view of that tonight, you can go to the district website and you can access all of those. Additionally, if you look, there's a Garrard design development set there. It's about 120 pages or so of very detailed stuff. Those are all available for the public to see as well. So anybody who would like to take a look can do that. Personnel changes since April are fairly large. If you click on that one, you'll be able to see a lot of stuff. But just make that available to you so that you know what's happening.
Okay. Item 3 is reports. A is their treasurer's report. We individually met with our treasurer. Do you want to say anything about that?
So we can just summarize it that the variance this month was, we were up about $860,000 compared to this time last year. And she has broken that out for you. Again, this is available to anybody in the public who'd like to see it.
All right. And Bob, potential update.
So your bonding potential is $39,670,000 at this time, based on a 3.83% interest rate. We have had conversation with your fiscal agent. They continue to be confident that there's additional money there should you need it with some work, but this is actual numbers, not nothing increased or inflated at all.
Okay, thanks, sir. And bills is presented.
You all see that on a weekly basis, and we have the summary of that here today for you.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 4 is their consent agenda, and you probably noticed, fellow board members, there's a lot on the consent agenda. Would you like to address that, Mr. Stowe?
Sure, happy to do that. We can pull anything you all would like to talk about. We normally have the regular meeting minutes on there, so it continues to be there, and the treasurer's report. We approve every year payroll dates, and so we assume that that's something that's okay with you to be on a consent. Indirect costs you don't actually approve, but we make you aware of those as well. Each year we have to approve related service providers for our students who have exceptional needs, and those are the same contracts that we had last year. So we've placed them as an opportunity to be on a consent, as we have with maintenance service agreements. If nothing changed in those areas, we just ask that you let us roll those forward. If you need to pull anything, again, we're happy to do that. And you can see those individually. We are asking to approve our health service agreement with our nursing staff, vaccines through Garrard County Health Department, a job description that has no job at this point, but should we need it because of issues around school psychologist, which you'll hear about in a few minutes, we're asking to go ahead and have a job description available if we need it. One of our teachers, Joanna Stevens, has been asked to speak at the National Council of the Teacher of Mathematics. We'd like to get her permission to do that. We need to approve the Bass Fishing State Tournament attendance kind of retroactively, approve the GMS boys basketball team camp at Georgetown, and then the FFA trip that I mentioned to you just at the beginning of the meeting today.
Thank you, sir, for addressing all that. Any board members have anything you'd like to pull out of that? If not, do I have a motion?
I've got
I'm
a
sorry.
question.
Okay,
Special education. Assessment coordinator job description. It's just with existing personnel.
There's no position. So our fear is because of the current status on our school psychologist, there's 62 vacancies in the state right now, and they're not being filled. There's the potential at some point that if we were to have a retiree or someone leave, we would have to come up with an avenue for testing of our students. If that happened, we want to have this job description already in place so that we would then come back and ask to create that position to replace an existing position. So this won't happen as long as we have school psychologists. This is a safety net for us.
Thank you so much.
all right. Mr. Bird, anybody else?
I have a question about the health department for vaccines. I remember that we had this previously, and I don't recall that we revisited it last year. Could you, we're just approving Garrett County Health Department as a site, or is there reimbursement attached to that so that we are paying for vaccines?
No, it's just approve them as a site who could administer that for us. We went to our current nursing group to see if they wanted to do it, and they chose not to. I think it had to do with storage of that, and so you're probably more familiar than us. The health department reached out to us and asked if we wanted to continue this process, and so that's what we're asking to do.
But it's not tied to payment and reimbursement for the cost.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the action agenda?
Consent.
I'm sorry?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'm sorry, the consent agenda. Thank you, Dr. Lane. Consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. For a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. The consent agenda was adopted. Now we come to item 4, the action agenda, and under item 5 and A is to approve a tentative budget for the 22-23 school year.
This time during the year, we always have to approve this. Ms. Coffey has worked with it. I think she has shared that with you. You have access to it. It's basically a roll forward from what we had previously. However, if you'll recall, we talked about reducing potentially our contingency to allow for us to use for some funds for projects that we're currently working with. So the tentative budget, instead of showing, we're currently at about 15.8%, drops to potentially 12% by the end of the year, with us using those funds for projects that we've discussed with you before. So my recommendation to you is you approve the tentative budget for the 22-23 school year. The working budget will come in the fall.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the tentative budget.
Okay, Ms. Davis made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Hurt seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, let me know by lifted hand. All board members were in favor. The tentative budget is approved. Item B is to approve capital funds transfer request.
Every year about this time, we request moving some capital funds over to our general fund. Our fiscal agent works with Ms. Coffey every year to make sure that money is available. Those dollars can be used for things like purchase of a vehicle, can be used for property insurance, partial payment, KISTI bus debt service, principal and interest. So we're requesting permission to make that capital funds request and transfer it to the general fund. So my recommendation is that you approve that request.
All right, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Hurt made the motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Ms. Davis seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, let it be known by lifting hand. All board members were in favor of the capital funds transfer request is approved. Item C is to approve Family Resource Center assistance extended days.
This year in the 2022 legislative session, there were additional funds allocated to the Family Resource Center, the Youth Service Center budgets. And one of the requests made of them was to consider aligning their support staff to their job, or their number of days of employment. So this is using those funds, not general funds, to bring those assistants to the same number of extended days as the director. So my recommendation is that you approve the use of those dollars to extend the days of those assistants in the Family Resource Centers and Youth Service Centers.
Have you heard the recommendation? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Lamb made the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. McQuarrie seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, let it be known by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. Item C is approved. Item D is to approve virtual learning waiver for 22-23 school year.
GCLA is our virtual learning platform for those people who opt for that. In order for us to continue to offer that next year, we have to request a waiver. So my recommendation is you approve our request for that waiver so we can contact KDE about that.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. McQuarrie made a motion. Ms. Davis seconded. I have a question.
Sir.
Is that so that virtual learners can be counted in our ADA?
It allows us to do that, but if we didn't have this waiver, then we couldn't offer that anyway.
Thank
So
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Let me ask, for testing, do they come on site to be
they
tested?
do.
And will we be able to review those
We will.
results
We can.
to see what kind of impact this may be having?
And I, we want to be as clear as possible. That's always a challenge for us when somebody is working off-site to make sure we get them back on-site. And that'll give us insight as to how we might need to adjust the program moving forward.
Anybody else?
I share the number of students that were participated in that this year.
Mr. Boland,
Yes, ma'am.
you got the number in GCLA currently?
135.
All right, anybody else? Well, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All but one. Oh. Pay attention. All board members are in favor. Item E is approved. D is approved. Item E is to approve insurance carriers for the 22-23 school year.
This year, just to make sure we had the best possible insurance rates, we did an RFP, put this on the street to make sure that, again, we were giving you the best numbers that we possibly could. What you have listed here are all of the areas that we have to cover. It's fairly substantial when you take a look at that. So our recommendation is that you approve our insurance carriers for this year, would be EMC for all of these components, KEME, who would handle workers' comp, and Zurich, who would handle our student accident insurance. The total amount there is a little over $350,000 for premiums. So my recommendation is you approve this.
Heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Query made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
Mr. Hurt seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. The insurance carrier is approved. Item F is to approve an RFP for HVAC preventive maintenance.
So as I shared with you earlier, when we were approving some of our existing contracts, there are other contracts we put out again to make sure that we were giving you the best numbers that we possibly could. So we put out an RFP for HVAC preventative maintenance. We've received that back today. We've looked at those, and I've attached the recommendation so that you can go in and take a look. Our recommendation is that you approve 3 City Heating and Air to provide that maintenance for us.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a
What was
motion?
the name of the company again?
3 City Heating and Air. They're local with
Who
us.
was doing their maintenance before?
Thermal.
Dollar value alone was the reason for changing, or?
$13,000.
I'm waiting on a motion.
So move.
All right, Mr. Hurt made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Ms. Davis seconded. Harvey, any questions or comments?
I don't know, you know, it's not a lot of money considering past performance. Have we been really unsatisfied with thermal?
So I had a conversation with our director of maintenance, and in the conversation with him, he felt like this was the correct way to go. It's not necessarily that there is a dissatisfaction. It's the indication of how much significant jump there was in the cost relative to what this cost was.
And he feels we can get the same service
He does.
for less cost.
That's a subjective
That's what you hope to see, right?
observation, but we'll see.
That's what you hope to see.
Anybody else? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. 4 board members were in favor, 1 opposed. The motion is carried. Item G is to approve RFP for full service elevator maintenance.
Similar situation that we have here that I just shared with you. We took this one to bid as well to make sure that we had the best that we could for you. And DC Elevator, we feel like is the correct selection for this as well. Again, went back to our maintenance crew to make sure. And there was a little concern that our current provider may not be providing monthly updates as they should. And their cost was significantly higher coming into this. It's a little bit lower than this company, but he felt like that this was a good move for the service side. My recommendation is DC Elevator.
You've heard the recommendation, do I have a motion?
Make a motion?
Mr. McCreary made the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hart second. Any comments or questions? When I went over this afternoon, I noticed something about once a quarter. They,
So I'd have to go back through.
uh,
Not sure what your reference is. In my conversations, what we've been paying was about twice what their request is. However, the other bid was slightly under this. There was just a concern that we did not have the level of service that we wanted.
Okay.
And when you're trying to make sure your elevators are right, you want to make sure that service is good.
okay, anybody else? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. Full service elevator maintenance contract is approved. Item H is to approve our auditor contract for 22-23 school year.
We're requesting that we be allowed to use Patrick and Associates for the 22-23 school year. This will be our 3rd year with them. KDE recommends that you don't go beyond 5, so we feel like we're still within the scope of time that works appropriately for that. So my recommendation is that you approve Patrick and Associates for the auditor contract for the coming year.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve this contract.
Ms. Davis made the motion to approve the contract. Do I have a second?
I'll second the contract.
Dr. Lamb seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. The auditor contract is approved. Item I is to approve a contract for recruitment services with Bluegrass Resources.
So one of the areas that we're struggling in finding teachers is the area of math. And that's was referenced a few minutes ago when we talked about building a larger area that might someday have to house a couple of classes with one teacher. So we've not done this before, but we feel like it's worth trying. We'd like to utilize Bluegrass Resource Group, who will do some recruitment for us. It doesn't cost us anything unless we hire their individual. We are not required to hire their individual, but if we do, then we would owe them a fee for providing that recruitment service for us. We would only be looking at a high school math teacher in this context, so we're not opening it up for a large number, but we would like to have the opportunity to do that. We'll point out that their primary research and searching for certified people will be outside of the United States. So we will have questions when we interview as to any language barriers that might exist or anything of that nature. Again, we are not required to hire if they provide someone that we don't feel comfortable with, but it might give a resource to the high school that it would extend the opportunity to have a certified teacher. Some of the leadership connected with this is through Mercer County, and they have used this with a couple of individuals and they've found success with it. Doesn't mean we will, but we'd like to have the opportunity to at least investigate. So my recommendation is that we approve this contract with Bluegrass Resource Group.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Dr. Lamb made a motion, Ms. Davis seconded. You have any questions or comments?
I know we discussed this, but just to, I guess, clarify, right now it's only math, they're only working with,
They can
Trying
do
to-
science as well.
okay,
Those are their primary areas of look because those are the areas of the biggest teacher shortage at this time in our general area. And so that's what their focus has been.
there's just a real concern, not just this year, but in future years of finding, I'm really concerned about finding teachers in many areas. So math and science is always difficult, but, and KDE has actually offered, has offered opportunities in the past to help with mainly foreign language opportunities. And I know we've looked into that in the past too. So I think any way we can have some leads to help us, but we're not obligated to actually use them, but we could have them as a resource is positive.
So they're kind of like the headhunters.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, let me know by lifting your hand. All board members were in favor. Item I is approved. Item J is to approve MTSS school level support petition.
So Lancaster Elementary would like to use some of their existing funds to create this position. So it's a new job description. It's not requiring any additional money from the board. It's just going to be a shift. But in order to do that, you all have to grant permission to do that. So what we have in front of you is that job description, and we're asking you to approve that so that they would be able to make that decision at their level using their site-based funds. So my recommendation is that you approve this MTSS school level support staff for Lancaster Elementary.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the support staff position.
Ms. Davis made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hart seconded. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, let me know by lifting your hand. All board members were in favor. Item J is approved. Item K is to approve a JAG program, MOU with Garrard County Middle School.
Last month, you had the high school and the middle school share with you some of the stuff that was going on. The middle school shared the JAG program. Following that meeting, I'm sorry, did I say middle school? Sorry. High school had the JAG program. Following that meeting, the middle school principal made the comment, man, it'd be nice if we had that at the middle school. And 2 or 3 days later, we got a phone call from the JAG folks saying, would you like to have a JAG program at the middle school? So that worked out really, really well. So we're coming tonight to do a couple of things with the JAG program. First is to ask you to approve the MOU between JAG and Garrard Middle School to allow them to bring that program to the middle school at this time. My recommendation is that you approve that MOU.
You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. McCreary made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Lamb seconded. I think everybody wants to say, and I've got to be,
This is exciting. This is exciting.
I've got to be honest with you. I was almost excited when we met with Mr. Stoll on Friday, because I was about the BCTC and UK partnership with Garrard County School System. Anyway, anybody have anything to say?
I do.
Go ahead.
Now, I think one of the problems that we've had in our existing JAG program was a little mix up in the contracts. I hope the contract's gonna be right this time.
So we've signed contracts with them in the past, so I wasn't in the initial piece, so I'm assuming that we will be okay here.
Okay.
We are not the
Just so
first.
what
We're not the first this time,
Yeah,
so
what we're asked to approve is what we really get, and what they promise is what they get delivered. And the other part of the problem is the space. Now, we've had some problems with we've had problems with our, high school JAG program being moved around quite a bit over the period that we've had.
So this is not the JROTC program.
No, you're
This is
talking about
JAG.
something different.
This is
Okay.
You're
JAG.
talking about something
This
different.
is Jobs for American Graduates.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
she
but
has,
It's
I'm
all
sorry.
it's all interrelated because whenever we approve a new program, we gotta have space. So that's why I asked about the ROTC.
and we
It's
do,
apples and oranges, but it'll still make fruit salad.
we do have space. She has
Okay,
space
just long-
for the,
And
for the
the
program.
ROTC is on track.
Yeah.
And we'll have space.
Yes.
Okay,
And where are we with, is Europe still in the middle school, or is it the high school now? We
High
still
school.
have Europe at the middle school, has it,
High school.
it's gone to the middle school, okay. Wonderful program, so.
oh, yeah. All right, anybody else? We've got a motion and a second, all in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor, the JAG program at Garrard Middle School is approved. Item L is to approve creation of a JAG instructor position, since you made this motion.
Yes, that's right. So you've created the MOU. Now we need a person to handle this. So we need you to approve the instructor position. My recommendation is that you do so. We have listed the job description that is there. I will be clear, they give us $40,000 for this. If the position is staffed by a classified person, that'll cover cover the cost. If it's staffed by a certified person, we will have to kick in some dollars. We don't know exactly what that would be until we know who the person is, but there could be a cost to us for that. My recommendation, though, is that you approve this position.
You've heard the recommendation, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Perry made the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Davis seconded. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. The creation of the JAG position is approved. Item M is to approve additional extended days and stipend increase for school psychologists.
So we shared this conversation a few minutes ago, and I'll come to the board right now and say that I apologize that we're asking for something around the dollars on this meeting after we had meetings talking about it in April. However, it was between the April meeting and now that we became aware of just how dangerous the situation regarding school psychologists had become as far as trying to fill them. This is not an option for us as far as having a school psychologist. We have to have somebody who can do that testing. And so, as I shared earlier, there are about 62 vacancies in the state of Kentucky. There are almost no places for anybody to get the certification without it being face-to-face. This is one of those areas that has not become a virtual area, and even a virtual area requires a 1,200-hour internship. So, as you understand, that's a difficult thing to do. This will not necessarily solve a problem. What we're looking to do here is try to be competitive. We currently give 9 extended days to our 2 school psychologists. I'm asking you to raise that to 20. For our cost, that would be slightly under $7,000. And I'm asking you also to increase the stipend from $3,000 to $5,000. That would be an add of $4,000. So we're slightly under $11,000 that I'm asking you to add in order to do this. My recommendation is that you extend the days to 20 and that you increase the stipend by $2,000.
You've heard the recommendation, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Dr. Lau made the motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Ms. Davis seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All board members were in favor. Item M is approved. Item N is to approve a contract revision for the Whitaker Bank scoreboard donation.
You all approved this a few months ago. After we signed it and forwarded it, there was a question from Whitaker Bank. If you will recall, we had sent the contract to your board attorney, and he had made some alterations to their original contract. We had passed it through them. We thought everything was good. When we signed it and sent it back, there was a question from their final signature, and he has said he would not approve it unless we go back to the original contract that they provided to us. So we are at a bit of a quandary. Quandary being, do you want to accept what they are offering, or do you want to stick with what our board attorney has said? So if you stick with what the board attorney says, we will have to tell them no thank you because they will not sign that agreement. If you want to accept the change, we will be aligning with other districts in the area. So one of the things that I did do was ask for copies of contracts that have been signed by other boards in this area with Whitaker. I've taken a look at those, and it is the original contract. What it does is it gives them really the last right of refusal if they would like, if we were offering naming rights to replace something that they have. So if we give them the naming rights for this scoreboard, and 10 years from now, which it won't happen, but if 10 years from now the scoreboard needed to be replaced, we would go back to them first and say, would you be willing to do this? And if they say no, we can move on. If we move on though and offer something less than what we offered to them, they get to come back at that lower level. So it gives them ultimately the final right of refusal. For what we're getting from them, I'm okay making a recommendation to you that we sign the original contract that they offered in order to allow us to have the scoreboard that they have said that they will provide for us. I do not think it will be a long-term consequence to us. But obviously, when I say that, I haven't lived the long term, so I can't guarantee that. Ultimately, the decision is either to sign what they have offered or to say no, thank you.
Okay, and your recommendation is to approve the
Approve it.
original.
Yes,
All right,
approve the original contract.
You've heard the recommendation, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Hurt made the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McCray second, any questions, comments? Everybody understand what we're doing here?
First dance work two in the bush.
Okay. All in favor, let me know by uplifted hand. All board members were in favor. The contract revision with Virtual Bank is approved. Item O is to discuss the site plan for Garrett County construction projects and possible action.
So I don't think there'll be any action tonight. We have some good news from a bad news situation. So the bad news was that there were some issues with easements. Two of the groups that we were working with were fine with the easements. It did create a little bit of an issue with a decision that we'll have to make in the future, not a decision tonight. But we had a third entity that had kind of stopped having conversations with Klottfelter-Samacar. And they had contacted me and asked what we wanted to do. We wanted to be careful about what we did. We thought there might be an opportunity to utilize our relationship with Intercounty Energy. So we reached out to Intercounty Energy, who's a part owner in the company that is having some issues with us. And so they have reached out, and then Klottfelter reached out to Trace Creek. And Trace Creek has some relationships, and they have orchestrated a meeting tomorrow. And that's really good because as of 2 days ago, we had no capability of having a meeting. So this is not a promise of anything tomorrow, it's a meeting. And that was what Klottfelter-Samacar had hoped to have happen. So we just wanted to be clear with you all that that's where we are. You did not see any design tonight about land movement, and that's why. We're waiting on the response to this easement and whether or not we'll have permission to do that. It's the easement would impact the baseball and softball outfield, and it just barely impacts. So from an average person like me looking at it, it's like, what's the big deal? But an average person is not the one who's looking into this. And so we have to make sure that we do the right thing along this line. We did not want to antagonize them in any way and have them say no thank you. So thank you to Trace Creek for helping expedite this process. We appreciate that. It shows that the decision that you all made to bring them on board is paying some dividends already, and we appreciate that. And we look forward to hopefully hearing some good information tomorrow night. So this was more information than anything. If we had gotten a flat no, then we might have had to take an action tonight to move a couple of items slightly on the original plan. We are not at that spot today. If we need to call a meeting next week, either to do that because we get a hard no from East Kentucky Power, or if we get a thumbs up and we can roll something forward, then we'll schedule a meeting as early as next week to take action. So you really don't need to do anything tonight, just be aware.
So you all encouraged with the fact that they're willing to meet?
We assisted. Yeah, I think it'll help. I think they're willing to sit down and actually get a true understanding of what we're trying to do here.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to hearing some more good news.
Fingers crossed. I can't say this while we're here talking about it. I think everybody knows, but we'll just make sure that everybody knows. We went to the fiscal court a week ago this past Monday and asked for their involvement in the construction of the new road entry. And they were very gracious to jump on board very quickly. We're very appreciative of them being a partner with us in this. They were committed to do just about anything that we would have asked. And I told Brother Jerry, if he wants to go back and ask for more, we will. But,
They were very encouraging.
they were really, really good to work with.
And I talked to the mayor the other day, and he's ready to jump on board too, I think.
Here we go.
Yeah, we got there and, we were way down on the agenda. And I thought, oh man, just like some of our board meetings. It'd be real late, but when we got there, they moved us up to the top and they said, okay, Mr. Stowe. So he got up, Brad was prepared. I mean, he had all his ducks in a row. He had all this slick packet to give out to all the county attorney and all the magistrates and judge executive. And well, we was walking out of there in 6 minutes. So anyway, we're really excited about it. All right, we come to item D, and which is for an executive session. And if we would, I'll entertain a motion to come out of our regular meeting and go into executive session.
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Hart made the motion, Dr. Lamb seconded. All in favor, let me know, lift your hand. Thank you. Y'all take your time. We'll take a few minutes. If anybody needs a break. Much, and thank you that may still be with us for being patient with us. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session and into regular session? Mr. Query made a motion, to have a second, Ms. Davis second, all in favor, let me know by lifting hand. Thank you, we're out of executive session and back in to our regular session, and, we've been discussing a possible land acquisition, and I believe someone has a motion for us.
I do. I'd like to make a motion that we allow Mr. Stoll to provide a counter offer on the 1.2 acres and also a proposal for the 1.2 plus an additional amount to be determined along the fenceway.
And that's with Allison Abrasives.
Yes.
All right, thank you. You've heard the motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Ms. Davis seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, let me know by lifting hand. All opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Mr. Stoll, you have been given authority to take care of this one.
Thank you, sir.
Item 6 is to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Mr. McQuarrie made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Dr. Lamb second. All in favor? All board members in favor, we are adjourned. Thank you all for joining us. If you're still with us, thank you for your patience. Have a great rest of the evening.
We think the adjournment, I'll second.